So this is our first tiny house, and you can see inside, we still have quite a ways to go, but we're starting on electrical and plumbing today. My name is Jenny McCombs, and I'm the founder of J6 Road Home, which is a ministry to help January 6 defendants rebuild their lives after prison. They will be able to come and live here. Of course, all of this is at no cost to the J6er. We have jobs lined up for them. We have a national telehealth network of medical doctors, licensed professional counselors, and so many different business leaders in the community that are willing to hire these guys and support them as they build a new life. Phase 1 of our J6 Road Home project is to build 5 tiny homes out here. They're about 300 square feet, bathroom, a little kitchenette, and then an open floor plan concept with the bedroom and living room area in it. All of this will be a greenhouse, and then fields for vegetables and all the sustainable living, grow your own food. This is the most fun part of our property. This in here is what we call the 1776 bar. So it's the most patriotic bar in Texas. So I went to the Capitol on January 6th to protest what I believe was a stolen election. When Pence betrayed us is when we decided to storm the Capitol. Well, I personally did not witness any destruction of property or violence from the protesters that day. I only saw violence from the police officers towards protesters. Some of the patriots had already broken down all of the barricades, and they had literally ripped out the fence, pushing and pushing and pushing, and we got the police to back off. I do believe that some people need to be prosecuted for what happened on January 6th. I also believe that the very small handful of bad actors that day, they have suffered enough. Unfortunately, all of us have been painted as domestic terrorists. But all of the BLM and Antifa riots that happen across the country, actual bad guys going through and setting fires and rioting and all of that. And then to see those people not be prosecuted for breaking the law. There's a huge difference between the two. I was facing 4 misdemeanors and a felony that held a max of 20 years in prison. And I sat down on the floor and I cried.
Nobody wants to sit and think about watching someone you love have their life torn apart. I watched her get threatened with rape, murder, lose friends for a solid year. And it still, I'll be honest, it makes me mad.
The government offered me to plead guilty to trespassing, which is a Class A misdemeanor. And in exchange for me pleading guilty to that, then they would drop the other misdemeanors in that felony. I was sentenced to 2 months federal probation and a fine. That is very, very rare in the January 6 cases, that I'm already completely done with my consequences. And so I'm very involved in the other groups and organizations, nonprofits that help the J6 families, the kids, and also help the prisoners. Nobody was working on what do we do with them when they get out. And so I started talking about this concept of how do we build something that's big enough to house and feed and employ the J6ers as they get out of prison and help them rebuild their lives. So this here is our wall of heroes. It is always changing and growing. This is my father-in-law in Vietnam. This is my dad in Vietnam. These are all of my friends that are some of the 186 veterans that have been charged and incarcerated for January 6th. January 6th is the gravest human rights violation that has ever happened in our country. I do not believe that we have justice. I do not believe that we have free and fair and blind justice, which is what our country is supposed to have. And one of the great things that has come as a result of January 6th is now you have at least 1,600 people and their families that are for the first time ever, very passionate about criminal justice reform. You know, there have been plenty of people on what we would call the other side that have been screaming about criminal justice reform since the 60s. And unfortunately, until something happens to you, you don't necessarily care about it, much less want to get involved in it. If there were to be another thing happen similar to January 6th, but say from the other side, President Trump gets inaugurated and a bunch of Democrats or liberals then storm the Capitol, do I think that those people should have their lives ruined? The answer is no. I would never wish that they would have to go through what we have gone through, because it's not right.
Is there anything else that you would have done differently that day?
No.
Merit TV is now projecting Donald J. Trump has been elected as the 47th president of the United States.
We had all hoped that Trump would win. We had all worked for that and prayed for that. But when it happened, I mean, it was almost unbelievable for a while, because we knew that that meant pardons. We knew that that meant that people are going to be walking out of prison.
Why do you believe in the results of 2024, but not 2020?
I would say the results of 2020, I was much more involved in the poll watchers and the precinct level and the precinct judges and all of the videos and footage and testimony and everything that came out around that. Versus in 2024, I mean, the saying is too big to rig. It's not just that the person that I wanted to win won in 2024. That's not it at all. I still have all of the same concerns that I had in 2020. And I still believe that we need to have complete election system reform.
People that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons.
We are expecting on Inauguration Day that President Trump will do what it is that he has spoken about multiple times, a blanket pardon of innocence for all 1,600 January 6 defendants. One of the amazing things about the January 6 prisoners is they have not lost their faith in God or their faith in our country. It's a very difficult thing, that level of public humiliation. And so you really only have your faith to fall back on when it's all said and done. I don't think that anybody's entire life and entire future should be dictated off of the choices that they made one day. It is our responsibility as humans to always pay it forward to the next person and to be able to help the next person have a better life. And so I'm so excited for when these guys start getting here next week to help them do that with their lives.